Radio. I am your host, Peter Savetti, and we have quite the show for you guys tonight. Quite the show. We got the crew of 656 Comics here with us tonight. Oliver and Harry are here, and I just want to say hello to those in the chat. Let's see. Eric the Guapo says, I came into this chat to be third to make an utterance. Were there two others before you? I don't see them listed. Can you believe that? They took them out. So actually, Eric, you're the first. Micro says, hell yeah. Publishing Pete and the 656 crew. Two of my favorites. Two of my favorites as well, which would be the 656 crew. Jaded One we have here. Hey, everyone. Hey, Jaded One. Hope you're doing good. We got Blue Teddy Narrations here as well. What's up? El Padrino says first. I don't know. You're gonna have to talk to Eric the Guapo about that, and he's a tough customer, apparently. He eliminated the first two that came in to the chat. But without further ado, let's get started. So Comic Book Radio, this is a new format for us. Before it was an open format for about an hour or two. I would have an invite to you guys to come on the show, talk about whatever you wanted to talk about. Instead, now we're having guests on the show, talking to them for about a half hour or so, then open up the floor to you guys, and you guys can feel free to join us one at a time. If you've got a question or comment for our guests, please feel free. Don't be shy. Come on the show and join us. You can stay on for as long or as little as you'd like until someone else comes on. Then we have to kick you off and say goodbye. But without further ado, our special guests. Two real cool guys. Oliver and Happy Harry Hardon.
What's up, Pete?
What's up? Now, I've been wanting to ask this for a while. Why Happy Harry Hardon?
It's a homage to Pump Up the Volume back in the 80s. It was my favorite movie for at some point in time. And I always wanted to have a pirate radio station, so when these guys were like, hey, let's do streaming, that's what I decided to call myself. I mean, my name is Ray Ramos, but Happy Harry Hardon is what stuck, so...
All right. Everyone knows you as Harry or Happy Harry Hardon. but Ray, you mind if I call you Ray during the course of the conversation?
By all means, Pete. That's fine.
Okay, fantastic. All right. I feel like I'm meeting you for the first time. So these gentlemen here have a wonderful book called The Cryptids, but they also have a great book called Dead Stop, Tour of Terror, and this is on Indiegogo right now. I'm going to put this in the link for those of you in the chat. We'll touch upon this in a little while. But I really wanted to have a conversation, of course. Could you have guessed it? About cryptids.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know.
Before we get into that, let's see. Eric says, Pete, can you convince the 656 guys to not give away books as stretch goals? The Cryptids came with so much that I would have gladly spent $60 to $80 plus.
You can donate that money, Eric.
Yeah, you can donate. That's no problem.
give a healthy tip, right?
Yes, of course.
Interesting. Yeah, you guys, it impressed me. The campaign impressed me with not only the extras, but also the scope in which you're setting out your stories and everything else. The amount of characters in the book is a lot of fun, and you did a fantastic job. I was blown away. Easily one of the best campaigns I ever backed.
Thank you so much for that, Pete. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It was a ton of fun. It was like opening up all kinds of Christmas gifts and getting all these extras. The only thing that I wanted then was like trading card sets with all like the different biographies and stats, and then I wanted action figures to play with afterwards and set up.
And the cartoons.
Exactly.
The cartoon.
To eat with your cereal, your Cryptids cereal. No?
Your Cryptids cereal. This guy, your Cryptids socks. Oh man,
why not? Right? It was great. It was a lot of fun, and that was my only complaint was I wanted more, not enough. So
nice.
And if anything, you guys gave so much, but that's how fun it was. That's how cool everything was. So are you guys continuing with that and making more books and more characters and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. We're getting ready to launch the second Chance campaign. And although I want to give everything away, Oliver's like pulling back on it as well. He's like, "Hey, we need to chill out You know, because I nearly killed the man from all the stuff that we were trying to offer. He's all like, "How are we gonna do this?" And
I hear you. Yeah.
he was the one figuring everything out, and I was like, "Wow, we figured this out. That's cool."
Blame Ray for giving away all that stuff, man.
Oh man.
I wanted to give ash cans. No, it's making floppies. I mean,
Wow.
okay.
I wanted
Holy
them. I
smokes.
wanted them black and white. No, I want them in color. You know, stuff like that.
the Polaroids were our idea. It
Yeah.
came from this side. So.
Yeah, that was great. That was so great. When I saw him too, I was like, these sons of bitches. I was like, it's bad enough that I'm already working on this without saying something for the longest time. Then you came on an open mic show one time, and I was like, oh man. I was like, what do I do now? It's gonna look like I'm kind of
know.
copying these guys.
Yeah.
And then
it sucks, man. I know.
yeah,
I've
but
had the feeling. Yeah.
There's plenty of room. I'm saying, man. Like everyone
Yeah,
has their
our-
own ideas.
our stories
Yeah.
are totally different enough, so even if they're in the same sphere, I mean, I think we're going to be setting a trend with these supernatural heroes as opposed to just like straight up superheroes. But hey, whatever, you know, maybe we'll see.
Definitely, we need a
But,
change. We need something different.
Yeah, so when I saw that, I said, okay, well, you know what? I read into it, I looked into it more, and I was like, okay, our projects are definitely different enough where I feel comfortable continuing without feeling like,
right,
yeah.
Oh,
And then I was like, you know what? If anything, maybe even years from now, we can get some kind of a fun crossover going or whatever. That would be kind of cool too.
that's what I'm looking
But,
forward to.
Yeah. But the
I
Polaroid
just
thing
gotta stay
especially,
alive.
I was like, I wanted to have one of those in there, and I was like, man, they did it first. Brilliant though, great stuff.
That was all Oliver, man. Like
You
he's the one that
should've
thought
done
of it.
Peter. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there's different takes on it and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it all started with the whole cell phone thing. You know, like how can we do that? Because a lot of the stuff that I watch, like on TikTok and on YouTube, you know, it's on the cell phone, and on Reddit also. There's a lot of like pictures and all these, you know, freeze frames and stuff. And I was like, how can we translate that over to the campaign? Like, how can we figure out a way to have that same experience? And Oliver was like, Polaroids, man, Polaroids. And I'm like, okay. I don't know which cryptid hunter is going to be out there with a Polaroid in the middle of nowhere, but
You
hey,
guys-
if it works, it works.
You guys just dressed up, and that's a little bit of a shadow there in the middle
Yeah.
of the forest. But
I mean-
yeah, the Polaroid I'm going to be doing is different, but I love the ones that you guys were doing. It was great, really, really great.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Oh man, like
And Oliver, what
I'm
were you going to?
just,
I didn't want to cut you
I'm
off.
sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
I
I'm
was
sorry,
gonna say
Ray.
that you should have pulled the trigger on that because the printer where we got these made went out of business.
No way.
Mysteriously, yeah, they went out of business.
mysterious.
We tried to contact them because we needed more because we ran out. And yeah, their website's gone. Their emails, nobody's answering their emails.
What?
So yeah, it's
Right after your job.
right after.
Yeah.
The Men in Black went after them.
That's
We
what
used
it
up all their
seems
material.
like.
Shh,
Oh
man.
my lord! Wow, wow, that's kind of strange.
And they're from the UK, I believe. Yeah. So,
Oh no way! Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I found one US based that'll be able to put everything on actual
Oh, nice.
Polaroids and do that. But
Oh, great.
goodness gracious!
I saw those
Man.
comic book boxes that you're toying with. That's cool, man. I was like, hey,
Mm.
that is cool. The storage boxes for the books. I like that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
really
yeah.
like that.
Oh yeah. It arrived today,
Nice.
Oh,
and it looks great. It looks so great though that I have to have and it's perfect. Everything about it's perfect. I have to actually set up the perk because I can't just show it. I think people are gonna go crazy and they're gonna go wanting it right away. I can't do like a teaser show of, hey, check the box out, and then everyone's gonna be like, well, where can I get it? I'm gonna be like, nowhere right now, but maybe tomorrow. So I gotta
Tune
make sure
in
everything is
tomorrow.
all set. But I got it. It arrived earlier today, and it's perfect. It's stunning. But enough about that. Enough about me. Now, as far as the cryptids go, as far as your books go, what was the inspiration for all of that cryptidnals?
Oh man, like me myself, I've always been fascinated by the supernatural, the occult. A lot of that stuff stems from, I guess, growing up, my childhood, whatever you want to call it, because my family was pretty effed up. You know, they were doing stuff that they weren't supposed to be doing, and they were into certain things. And slowly but surely, I started finding out, because I have all these fragmented images and fragmented events that happened growing up, but I never put two and two together until way later. About 7 years ago is when I actually started like sitting down and thinking about everything that had happened in my life. And I was like, holy crap, man, this and this and this and this fit together. But it all stemmed from me witnessing or experiencing what would be called La Llorona. And I don't know if you're familiar with La Llorona or not.
Oh, yeah. No way.
And that's what started it. And I mean, there's a lot of different varying theories as to what it was or what it is. But my experience was very, I don't know, like visceral. And because of that, that just fascinated me with the unknown and with supernatural. Cryptids, I mean, I started like really getting into them back in the day when I would read those Daniel Cohen books. I think we talked about that
before.
Before.
Those are great. Yep.
Yeah. And I always was fascinated by that. And I was like, man, these things exist out there. But there was always a certain like little circle of cryptids that they always focused on, like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, the Wendigo, those weird things that would show up on beaches and nobody could tell what they were. I forgot what they were called, like I don't know, like slimies or something. And I was like, no, there's got to be more out there because it's a big world. And that's when I started getting more into it. Like, wait, there's other countries with their own monsters.
Yeah,
and
every
their own
culture
beliefs.
Has. Yeah, it's insane.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And some of them are so very similar too, which is, and cultures that possibly never could have actually interacted. So the fact that there's so many that are so
right
similar.
There, that what you're saying right there, like ignited like a spark inside of me somewhere. I'm like, why are they similar? Why are all these stories, very similar? And I was thinking like, well, maybe because there's different, I don't know, clans or breeds, or there's different species that are similar, but, they live on different continents and stuff like that. So I started doing more and more research. And it's interesting because I always tell this story. I was driving around with my friend one day, and this was it's been about 8 years. And he's a comic book artist. He no longer draws comics that I know of, but he was really good. And we always played this game, like pitch me an idea. As we're driving around El Paso, pitch me an idea, pitch me what you would want to do. And sometimes we'd come up with some really cool ideas. And one day we're driving and he's like, pitch me the craziest idea you have. And I'm like, okay. And I told him, how about cryptids that are hired by the US government to go around the world and steal religious artifacts? And he's like, what? How would that even work? And then we started like lining up the team. I'm like, the Loch Ness Monster's in charge, and Bigfoot's like a black ops and all this other stuff. And the Cryptids sprang from that. And I started like getting more involved in the research of it. And I'm like, wait, I was doing it too cheeky, I guess, too comedic. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that a lot of other projects that have cryptids in them always do it, but they always make the cryptids like not so much the brunt of the joke or not taken seriously, but they're not
very campy. It's goofy.
Yes, yeah. Exactly, campy. And I'm like, no, I need to get away from that. I want them to be in the center stage, focused on them, no humans, just monsters, and that's it. And we'll go from there. And that's where the story started really taking off, because I was trying to formulate a universe where this could actually work. And the only way I could do that was taking real life events or real events that apparently happened involving these creatures and bringing them to light and going behind the scenes and trying to figure out how did that happen. And it all started with the firefight in Dulce, New Mexico, that happened in the 1970s. I don't know if you heard about this one, but apparently the U.S. military got into this firefight with alien greys in an underground base on this mountain, on this plateau. And I was like, man, well, what happened there? What all occurred? And it just took off from there. That was the beginning of the Cryptids story right there.
Wow. Yeah, it's the same kind of scope of what I wanted to do with King Cryptid, was to tell a serious style story. Dramatic elements, sci-fi, adventure, horror, all that kind of stuff. But like you said, there's so many goofy, campy kind of takes on things that involve cryptids, and it just is, it seems like it's on purpose. You know what I mean? Like to almost like ridicule people who would believe in it, that even a storyteller out there feels the need to ridicule it, as opposed to treat it with a level of seriousness and potential possibility. I don't know. I mean, a lot of that stuff occurs in the paranormal communities in terms of conversation. Is that there's a lot of that with the ridicule and the kind of discrediting and making people, not believe anything you have to say, make you sound absolutely crazy. Even though we're all just discussing the possibility thereof, there are some people, of course, that are, a little out there with some of this stuff, and some of them that are kind of disingenuous, trying to use things to get attention and whatever. But at large, the conversation is really just about the possibility. And so to see you guys tackling that kind of subject matter in your book with cryptidnals, and you've got all these different creatures and these different potential possibilities with different subject matter and different things that can occur, or stuff that you're taking in a more serious tone. How did you find that the research for that was going about in terms of making your story, I guess, three-dimensional in a way, and layered, as opposed to just having this one superficial layer of just having cool looking characters and stuff like that, but actually giving characterization to these guys?
That's exactly it too. I mean, I wanted each character to be able to hold their own book. That's how I wanted their backgrounds to be that much in depth, and immediately I saw, what was in my own backyard. La Llorona, of course, because of my run-in with her. The man dog, which is like the biggest one. Like, everybody loves the man dog now, but these were all based on actual events that apparently happened. The man dog was very interesting because he had a very surface type, I guess, background or origin. And I started delving deeper into what was going on in the area and all this other stuff, and I pieced together this really, really cool origin, I thought, to present as his background and why he was the way he was. And everybody really took to it, and I was like, wow, that's awesome, that worked. And the Goat Man also, from Denton, Texas, that guy, like, there's got to be more to him just being out there on a bridge and being angry and swinging an axe. Why is he there? And I think that's something that we have to take into consideration, of course, when we're developing these characters that want to take on a life of their own. They have to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, so to speak, and be able to tell their own stories without having anything else like interfering with that or being very surface, as I like to put it. So that's what we started doing.
Nice. So Oliver, when it came to your part in creating or helping to create this as well, can you let everybody know what was the part that you had played with this?
Well, first off, I'm the letterer of the project. Also, I grouped together the colorist for the main cover with.
He's so modest. He's the guy with the big eraser, man. Honestly,
that too, Peter. I have a big eraser. Yeah. Also, I had to crack the whip with these guys because they take their sweet time, man. You know this, right, Peter? But yeah.
So,
man,
are you the editor in chief of the Cryptidnals?
He doesn't want to say it, but he is.
Yeah, I mean, Julius Freeman also helped the editor job too. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm more like the visual aspect of the book. I mean, I had to sit down with Dario and talk about sequences and page turners and layouts and all that, because Ray said that one of the biggest inspiration was Junji Ito, and he's the master of the page turner, the manga artist. And yeah, and that's what I said. We need to do that, the page turner, because we need to have that reveal. Like you see something cool and just turn the page, and it has to be something like impactful. And I think we achieved that job. I mean, I haven't heard complaints, right? But yeah, I hope we did. Yeah, I took over. I looked over the script, the art, and all that, and I was like behind those guys.
Nice. So have you had your own cryptid or paranormal experiences as well?
We grew up during the Chupacabra scare, Peter.
Oh.
I don't know if you heard that. During the 90s, yeah, everybody was Chupacabra crazy over here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we later found out that it was all a ploy to distract from the media, because the Mexican government was up to no good. They're always up to no good, man. So
well, all governments, you don't need to specify region or anything like that. You could just say the government.
They created this. They heard about this incident, so they put it in the forefront. Yeah, the chupacabras attacking, while presidents are robbing the public blind and shooting down candidates, and business as usual over here. So but no, man. I mean, over here, the chupacabra scare, everybody's were like really scared, shutting down, closing their windows at night, and all that stuff. But nothing happened. I mean, we just saw. I think in Puerto Rico there was a lot of cattle mutilations and all that stuff. But over here it was like not very common. But they were saying, "Oh, Chupacabra's here" and all that stuff. So
yeah, well, that's the interesting part too with things like cryptids and just the paranormal in general is that you do find a lot of it is being used as a misdirection ploy and put out there. And that even sometimes when there's a basis in origin, I'm honestly a firm believer in the fact that a lot of the UFO abductions that we see, it's stagecraft type stuff, that it's the government reverse engineering stuff that may have potentially landed, and then going in there and creating this propaganda scare and abducting people, doing things to people, terrorizing certain areas, that kind of a thing, or just even doing test flights and people finding them and that kind of a thing.
I heard a theory that those people were targeted by CIA or some thing, to mess with them.
Well, Harry went dark. Look at that.
What's going on?
Sorry,
Ray, come back to us. I thought it was.
Turn on the light over here.
Both Oliver and I have sunglasses on, so I thought maybe
it's the Men in Black. They heard.
Turn the lights off on
little creepiness there.
Like out of nowhere, all of a sudden,
like the fire, dude.
And then he's just gone
by the fire. There you go.
And now he's got that lighting, that horror lighting.
I'm in the corner right now. I'm in the little corner of all my stuff, so that's why it's dark in here. But the rest of the house is.
You need a flashlight, that
I know. Put it right here. Yeah, put it right here.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway,
yeah.
Let me tell you.
Perfect.
You should tell Peter about the Zona del Silencio, man. That's always very interesting.
Oh, Zona del Silencio. Yeah, it's an area, and where is it exactly? It's in Chihuahua, right?
Yeah, it's like 30 miles from you or 40 miles from you?
Yeah, it's a place in the desert that everything stops. Like your watch stops, your car stops, everything mechanical.
Oh wow, is it like a ley line kind of a thing there?
Probably, yeah. And supposedly there were it's a UFO hotspot.
Wow.
Right there, yeah.
Not only that, but there's like supposed mutants, like mutant animals. There's a lot of alleged werewolf sightings there. A bunch of craziness is going on there, and it's super eerie, and it's like right in our own backyard. And we're gonna kind of work with that idea on the next Cryptonodes. Cause it's all crazy, man. There's like a bunch of stuff going on in the next issue, but there's a lot of stuff in our own backyard that is always very fascinating. There we go. Thank you, son. Appreciate it. You turned on the light for me. Stuff that's in our own backyard, and that's another thing too, like that got us going, especially like with stuff that we heard growing up and stuff that our parents would tell us. And that really, what these guys were really, really interested in when we started working on the book is La Llorona aspect, because that's something that if you grow up along the border, it's like ingrained in our DNA to know about La Llorona. And when I presented to them the idea that I wanted to redeem her, which had never been done before, they were like, wait a minute, how? She's a child murderer. How are you going to redeem a child murderer? And I started telling them my ideas, and they were like, dude, we got to do this. We have to do this. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, Oliver.
Yeah, dude, La Llorona, man, that's crazy. I'm reading the Zona del Silencio. It crosses between 3 states, so it's pretty big, man.
Wow.
And also, Peter, there was a UFO crash, like
that's right,
over here too during Roswell. So that's pretty interesting.
No way! Wow.
Yeah, it was another UFO crash there, and
there was a lot of UFO activity. And honestly, I have a theory on that was based on all the nuclear testing, because when nukes go off, it creates a large EMP pulse. So if you have any UFOs flying around in the area, they're going to lose control. Their mechanics are going to shut down, and they're going to crash. And you're talking about like Roswell. Roswell was one of the only bases on the Earth that had operational nukes at the time. So if one's over there that crashes near that area, that's going to be something that occurs from that. So, and there was all kinds of different Roswell type incidences all over the world during that course of time. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff with that I think is extremely interesting. And I think what's even more interesting is once that kind of stuff happens, there's an obsession to go to space. All of a sudden across the world, there's a huge launching point in how much technology leaps and bounds, it grows within a 20, 30, 40, 50 years span. You're looking at something that occurs and you're like, wow, there's no other time period within 40, 50 years in history where technology grows that fast. So there's a lot of different things that have occurred since that time period of like the mid to late 40s. And I know they say, oh, well, it's, World War II and all this other stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that was occurring because of World War II and all the other extraterrestrial type of stuff, all the other kind of paranormal things that were going on. There's a lot of weird stuff that was occurring because of what we were doing that I think was almost sending like a beacon out to whatever was out there. But that's the thing with all of this stuff is it all kind of is within sort of the same realm. But when you get stuff like this cryptid sort of thing where you're talking about creatures that are either legendary or creatures that are maybe man-made genetic experimentations, abominations of nature, whatever it may be, it kind of really gets the imagination going. And you're not really quite sure what is true, false, whatever, but there is something in the possibility thereof. And so it's interesting to see you guys bring these creatures into a comic, and you're kind of setting them up as superheroes and things like that. With La Llorona, you're talking about something where, to me, if I'm looking at the time period of that legend, it almost seems as if maybe she didn't murder her kids. Maybe they want you to think that she did because her kids and her were murdered. And it was set up in this way to kind of... Because governments and people in power have always been cooking up stories and lies to scare the crap out of people. You get the English back in the day cooking up stories of dragons, and meanwhile they're the ones burning down people's huts in the middle of the night. And then the survivors would say, what the hell happened? Oh, a dragon came and torched them all. Wasn't us, it was the dragon. So you get all those kinds of situations that have occurred to kind of put fear into the hearts and minds of the people that they were ruling over. So it makes me think that the way you guys are presenting her, maybe where it is based on a factual thing that had occurred, I mean, maybe you guys are actually helping to give peace to her. Because honestly, it doesn't make too much sense to me that she would do that kind of a thing and then go on to kill herself and all this other stuff. And with the situation that had occurred, to me, it seems more like she would have been murdered along with her kids, which would have been, all of them would have been seen as this kind of a blight and this kind of a bad reputation sort of thing that they didn't want getting around. So who knows? Maybe you guys are actually giving this spirit some kind of peace.
That's what I would hope so, especially like growing up, because she's always been painted in this light that you don't talk about her, you don't want her showing up because you're doing bad things and stuff, and she was a very bad person and this and that. Now I was always like, why? I mean, we don't even know what happened. We have all these different ideas and stories of what her story was, but we'll never really know the truth. And I always like to think that there's more to it, like you're saying. There must have been something else going on, because it doesn't make sense that she just murdered her kids and stuff like that. Like, because she was Cortez's mistress.
Yeah.
And this white guy comes over from Europe, and he seduces this mestiza, this Mexican girl, whatever you want to call her, this Mayan girl. And how would that look on him if he took her back? No, she's got to go. She's got to stay here. She can't be around anymore. And I would think that that's the logical choice. Unfortunately, back then, it was a little bit more brutal. Get rid of her. Get her out of the picture. Get the kids out of the picture. And that's it. And then there's these other legends that say that, no, Cortez did come back, and they were together, and she stayed here with his sons and all this other stuff. And that's where the mestizo race originated from, because, they were having babies with these Europeans, all this other stuff, too. So it just gets your mind wondering and thinking about all this stuff.
Totally. Thank you, Past Creative, for the $2 super chats. It's finally caught you live. Long live newsprint. Thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, it gets you thinking about what's occurred in the past. It puts your perspective in their shoes. It kind of sheds light on a couple of different things that maybe you didn't really think about before in terms of the experiences of certain people and certain cultures. And then, like what we said before, it really is a unifying thing to see the commonality that exists across the world among all these people, all these cultures, that you could have had different languages, different culture, different this, different that. But there's all these stories. There's always these things that, about the unknown, about what's around the corner that you can't quite see, about what's in the woods, and there's all kinds of things. But then meanwhile, they're all so similar. And these people never would have talked and everything else. It's the same thing with all these different kinds of stories and drawings and, architecture and this and that. And it's pretty remarkable because of the fact that it does show there is a connection there. What that connection may be, I don't think that they have managed to prove that yet, but it really does seem like there's a connection among people across the world when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Exactly, and it's a mine of storytelling, a gold mine of storytelling, because it's untapped. Everybody focuses so much on the archetypal version of a superhero, the hero that rises from the village and goes off and fights the dragon. They all focus on that, but they never focus on the other aspect, which is the actual evil that they're fighting, or the darkness that they're fighting. And that's something that I always took into consideration too, because the darkness has to have its story as well. Like, why is it dark? Why are they evil, or supposed, allegedly evil? What is their story? And sometimes those are even more fascinating than the hero's journey. You know what I mean? And it just stems from all the Joseph Campbell that I would read and all this other stuff that I would watch. The whole hero's journey. And so this is playing off as the hero's journey, but kind of like in the dark, on the dark side, in the shadows.
Yeah. It's the converse of the hero's journey. Absolutely. So right now we're at the half-hour mark. You guys can join the show if you'd like. I got the link in the chat right here. Feel free to join us, and if you got a question or comment for Oliver or Ray, the folks at 656, please let us know. So I saw someone's comment before, and I hope they're still around. I hope they've been patient with us, but they were asking about I believe Dead Stop Tour of Terror. They were asking about the die cut cover, and if you wanted to explain that.
Go for it, Oliver. I can't hear you.
Oh, he's muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry.
There you go.
I don't have my Wolverine 50 as an example, but yeah, the main cover, the where the bus is, all the white parts are gonna be cut out, and you're gonna be able to see what's beneath it, which is the interior of the bus. That's how the die cut works.
Yeah, that's great.
So we contacted a new printer, and we just asked, hey, can we do this type of things to the cover, and they pretty much gave us a green light. So yeah, we decided to do something interesting and cool for you guys. So that's why we came up with the die cut cover. Yeah, so basically from what I'm seeing here, the first page would basically be that bus with the interior. Yeah.
And then the cover would be, you could see the cutouts, like he said, with the parts that are in white would be cut out, and you can see on that third panel image there, you would see basically what looks like clothes, but you open up that page and you would see the interior of the bus, but you would see them through on the cover. So. Yeah,
this is a gimmick that I haven't seen in a while in comics. I mean,
well, when you discover how to do the hologram covers and stuff, let me know. I'm dying to do those again.
Yeah, those are awesome.
That's a pretty penny to make a true hologram.
Yeah.
Man, oh yeah.
And you have to draw it in layers, no? That's what I heard about, that you have to draw the background and the foreground and the character like in different.
Yeah,
so you get the effect that it's a hologram.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Not just to have the holofoil or prismatic kind of material, but to actually truly have like a real hologram. But a great job here on the die cut cover. Really good idea.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as I was saying, do mainstream books like have these gimmicks, or have they?
I don't know. They usually, all I see nowadays, they all go crazy and talk about the 90s and the bubble burst and all the gimmicks and things like that. But at least Back then, you got a hologram cover, a die cut cover, a foil cover, glow in the dark, embossed, whatever, and that was the gimmick. Something fun, at least. But now it's just a lot of variant covers.
Yeah.
It's just, let's make 20 variant covers. and that's the gimmick. And then put the retailers through all these hoops and hurdles in terms of how they got to order them and all the crazy math involved, and to hopefully boost and inflate the sales in a very false kind of way, and then create this false collectible that really is only valuable because they only made 500 of them or something, which is crazy. Remember when comics were valuable because there was a story that had occurred inside of it?
Yeah.
And something, yeah.
Yeah,
What a concept.
I saw that, or I was listening to that podcast where Liefeld was explaining how, Berserker was number one, or Berserk was number one. The variant cover was number one. He was explaining what goes into it, and I was like, man, this is like a bait and switch kind of deal, man. Like exactly what you're talking about. It's just they're making their own scarcity. It's not because it's scarce; it's because they're making it that way.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
I mean, does Marvel keep track of that math? Because it's weird. No, you have to buy 50 of these to get this cover, and 30 of these
Yeah, I don't know. If anything, to me, it looks really strange if they want to pump up the numbers of a title that's not selling, let's say, which is what they usually do with it. You got to order a lot, like 50 of this one that's not selling and 20 of that one, and then and then you get this access to order this variant cover. But what's weird is that just because they ordered more of the title that's not selling doesn't mean that it's going to sell more. So now you're going to have a comic shop that has this big massive stack of these issues that don't sell for a book that should get canceled, not inflated with even more issues. It'd make more sense if it was order more of the popular book, to meet the demand and things like that, and just let the unpopular one just cancel them, let them die out.
No, and then
so weird.
And they do a new number one of the series that's not working, right?
Yeah, the number ones now constantly. Yeah. That's the new gimmick. That's the new die cut cover and things like that. I'd rather see the die cut covers, lenticular covers, chromium covers, glow in the dark covers. I'd rather see all of that stuff return again and boost it up $1 or whatever like they used to do. And at least you got something cool. You got something you could have displayed, even if you hated the story inside. Maybe they got a really awesome cover on it or whatever, and the cover was at least worth the price of the comic. But yeah, it's so strange.
So basically, they're selling prints.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you break it down like that, that's exactly it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cultures. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's great that you guys are doing something inventive with that. And getting back to some of the cooler stuff you could do with the comic cover and doing that die cut cover. So Dead Stop Tora Terra, what is this about? We talked a bunch about cryptidinals and cryptids and tulpas. Well, we actually got to talk a little bit more about tulpas. But
we got to talk about tulpas,
yeah, tulpas is another thing. Dead Stop Tora Terra is basically a horror anthology. Stories that are inspired by the craziness of living in Ciudad Juarez. The cartel stories, the urban legends, the stuff we hear in the news, the rumors from our neighbors that I saw this and heard about the story, and it's all that in a 108-page book. So it's our Tales from the Crypt, so to speak.
That's great.
Yeah,
they wanted to do something that had a little bit of edge to it as far as based on actual stuff that happened around the border. And a lot of these stories, they have very dark origins, stuff that has happened or stuff that we heard growing up as well. You're not supposed to, there's a section in Juarez that it's kind of like a rite of passage when you're below 18, when you're not 18 and you're in high school and you want to go drinking. It's called the Strip, the Juarez Strip, and you go over the bridge. You cross into Mexico, and there's one strip of bars, and you stay on that strip no matter what, and you go drinking in all these bars, and you cannot go over one street to the right or to the left of this strip, because if you do, there's a possibility you may not come back to El Paso or be ever seen again. And that's one of the stories in Dead Stop, and stuff like that we grew up listening to. I know this one guy. he went drinking last week and he never came back. Why? Oh, because he went to the Mariscal. The Mariscal is one street over from the strip. Oh man, you're not supposed to go back there because bad things happen. Yeah, that's exactly it right there. Boys' night out.
That street, by the way. So.
Yeah, I've been to that street and it's pretty rough, man. I'll tell you right now.
Man, oh man.
But that's the type of stuff that we grew up listening to, but it's never been once again captured like either in book form or in comic book form. And that's our love, right? Comic books. So we decided, like, well, let's do some of these stories that we've heard about, some of these stories that we grew up with.
And some of these are very and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Some of these are very old. Not to age gauge ourselves, but some of these are very old from when we were growing up to very recently. Like Oliver was saying, the cartel wars that happened in the last 10 years. So this is stuff that's based off of all of that.
Man, yeah. Oh, man. So you guys are just drawn to the paranormal and to the stories that are larger than life, huh?
So reality is stranger than fiction. I'll say that.
We're being typecast, no?
No, the next one's going to be about the video games, so don't worry. The next crowdfunder we're doing.
It's going to be fun and adventurous.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
man.
Color too, so.
Well, that's disappointing. Oh, this is great. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, that's even why I'm doing what I'm doing with King Cryptid. It's just every single thing I love about the paranormal, the comic book genre, every single thing I've ever loved about horror, fantasy, sci-fi, all in one thing. I was always into the Time Life books when I was a kid. I was like that weird little kid that everybody else is reading, like Berenstain Bears or whatever, and I'm reading Time Life mysteries about the pyramids and the Bermuda Triangle and Bigfoot. All that kind of stuff was always it went hand in hand to me with comic books.
Bernstein or Bernstein? I mean,
well, to me, I remember it being Berenstain.
Yeah, me
thank
too.
you, thank you very much.
Goodness, that's a whole other conversation of creepy, crazy stuff.
The Mandela effect, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Your neck of the woods, though, Peter. That's scary, man. That's the Appalachians, man. Like I don't want to mess with anything over there. The Fae, all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, what's even crazier? I grew up on Long Island. I grew up about a mile and a half away from Grumman, the Grumman Air Base, and maybe
mental.
I was maybe about 50 minutes from Montauk, with all of that awesome, fun government stuff going on there. So I've always been surrounded by these weird, crazy things my whole life, and then I moved up here in New Hampshire about maybe 6 or so years ago, and there's so much paranormal history here as well. And just New England, but specifically New Hampshire, especially when it comes to extraterrestrials and Bigfoot and all that other kind of stuff. So
you guys have that what is it? The Nessie? What is it? The Lake Dublin? I think it's called Lake Dublin monster or something like that. It's like some dude. I remember the story. Like some dude went swimming or scuba diving and he got attacked by this thing and he ended up naked like 3 days later on the side of the shore, and he was talking about giant eels or something like that.
That might have been a guy that had a fun night. And he's like, yeah, that's what occurred. That's why I ended up naked 3 days later.
Yeah. I went on a bender.
Exactly. But Massachusetts had the Dover Demon, and
yes.
Then,
oh man.
Yeah, and that was in '77, and then there was the Betty and Barney Hill abduction in '61, and all kinds of stuff, all sorts of different UFO and Bigfoot and everything. There was a UFO incident in Exeter. So there's all kinds of stuff around here that I wasn't 100% aware of until I came and moved to the area. And it's
Betty and Barney Hill one is that's like creepy, man. That one.
Yeah, that one's really creepy. And that one makes me think again of possible stagecraft if it wasn't specifically actually extraterrestrial, and because of how much they were being targeted and who they were, and especially at the time. So it seems like there's so many different things that occur, but I touch upon that too in King Cryptid, so I can't wait to get to those stories as well. But there's nice. All kinds of stuff, and I'm glad to see that we're out here making these supernatural, paranormal type comic books. I love that stuff.
Exactly.
Let's see. If you guys have any questions too for our guests right here, we got Oliver, and his real name is Ray, but he goes by Happy Harry Hardon. If you got any questions here for Oliver and Ray, let us know. If you want to join the show and ask them on air, you can do that too. We got the link pinned to the top of the chat. Don't be shy. I mean, these guys are great guys. Yeah, I know Oliver's an intimidating-looking customer here.
I know.
He's friendly.
That's the editor side coming out in him.
You're like, I can't tell. I can't tell what you're thinking. You don't like this, do you? And he just gives you the stare.
Exactly.
You don't like it. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Oh man, very very cool.
When is the Adventures of Ray anthology coming out? That's Eric and Wap was asking.
Oh man, subscribe to my Substack if you want to listen to those, man. I have a Substack and I talk about all the crazy paranormal crap that went on in my childhood, I guess you could call it, just occult stuff. It was nuts, Peter. I'm telling you right now, man. I could write a whole other comic on all the craziness that I went through with my mother and all the stuff that she was into that I had no idea about. So,
man, oh man,
crazy stuff.
A lot of witchcraft in that.
Yeah, there was a lot of witchcraft, occultness going on. I don't know, dude. Like,
wow.
That lady has some secrets, and I think she's gonna take them with her when she goes. But
you wanna tell?
Need some kind of memoir here.
Yeah.
Tell the story about the UFO.
So really, we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and just to incorporate the UFO thing that you were talking about. So I work at a pawn shop, and back in 2019, my dad passed away. No, I'm sorry. My sister passed away. My mother was put in a home, and something else happened at my house, at my parents' house, and it's very nearby from where I live, and I lived there all my life, growing up in this little house in the neighborhood, and I work at a pawn shop. And the other day, well, about 2-3 weeks ago, this gentleman walks in. I had never met him, and I just know him because he had a cap on and said, like Vietnam vet and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, sir, thank you for your service. I was talking to him for a little bit. He had some business to take care of as far as his pawns are concerned. And I asked him for his ID. I looked at his ID. I looked at the address, and I'm like, "Hey, this is my street was right in front of your street. This is yours is on Banana Street, right? And I lived on Apple." Oh, really? And I'm like, "Yeah. As a matter of fact, your address would be catty corner to mine if you went into our backyards. I could see your house from my house. Catty corner." He's like, "Wait a minute. Okay, so you're on Apple Street. I know what your house is. You had those 2 big pine trees out in the front of the house." And it's true. I had these 2 huge pine trees in front of the house. And he's like, "Yeah, that's where I saw the mothership." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" Yeah. He said, "Back in 2019, I saw the mothership. And as a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, I saw it again out in front of your house." And he was looking at the front of the house and describing what was there, and the pine tree was gone. So he knows which house it was. Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, the pine tree's gone. It's not there anymore." As a matter of fact, I saw your dad a few times out in the backyard, and there's people there, walking around. So what's going on? And I'm like, "What?" So cut back to 2019, right? When my mom got put in the home, my sister passed away. The house was alone. There was nobody living there. And I got a phone call from my next door neighbor, and I had grown up with her. And she never calls me. We remained friends over the years, but she never calls me. And she's like, "Hey, I really need to talk to you." And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And her grandmother lives next door to my old house, and she still does to this day. She's she's up in the age, I think she's like 94 or something like that. And my friend's like, "Well, I saw your dad." And I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute. What do you mean you saw my dad?" He's like, "Yeah, I saw your dad outside the house." Well, actually, my uncle, who lives with her grandmother, who takes care of her, saw your dad walking around outside the house. And I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "I saw him walking around outside the house." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? My dad's been dead since 2012. And this was in 2019 that she called me to tell me that." I'm like, "What the hell?" And she's like, she's not one of those people that are into this type of stuff or into listening to this type of stuff. So I was like taking it very seriously because she was very like concerned. And I'm like, holy crap. And this happened right as my sister had passed away. My mother had been put in a home. So the house was alone. My house was empty. So then this gentleman that came into the pawn shop a few weeks ago says the same thing. Like, "Yeah, I saw your dad walking around the house." And I'm like, what the hell is going on there? And he's like, yeah, I've seen like a lot of shadow people. And growing up, and that's a whole other story. Like growing up, I always saw shadow people. I always saw like it was like a vortex of stuff. I don't know what the hell was going on, but he kept telling me like, yeah, the mothership was hovering above your house, and he drew it. He drew a picture of what he saw, and he like, pointed out certain things about it. And I was like, what the hell's going on now? And I haven't been back to the house in a while. I'm kind of afraid to go and to go look to see what's going on.
Oh my God, they'll beam you up.
Yeah, exactly. They'll take me. But I was coming up with these theories in my head, like maybe these aliens have been unloading all these shadow people, and they've been just hanging out at my house and all this other stuff.
Oh my Lord!
But it was just really, really creepy that this is going on, and this gentleman that I had never ever met kind of just tied it all together again, and there was proof about it with his own eyes. And I have to take him seriously because he didn't seem the type of person just to go around talking about stuff like this to anybody.
Yeah. Wow.
And especially, being like a veteran and stuff like that, I know he's seen some stuff. So that just left a bunch of questions in my head, like what the hell is going on? So I'm gonna go hopefully soon and go see what's going on at my parents' house and stuff. And I just wanted to share that with you because Oliver, brought it up, and we're talking about it a few weeks ago.
Burn sage when you go.
Burn sage. Exactly.
Holy smokes! Yeah, that's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it's intense.
Well, I wanted to switch gears and talk about tulpas, but now I'm like, this is like a whole other. This is gonna take a lot of refocusing on my part.
We can talk about whatever you want.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's just crazy only because of the fact that, and I mean, I hope nothing ever happens to you, but there's so many stories in terms of extraterrestrials if they were to actually get anybody whatsoever. They usually follow lineages of people.
Yeah, that's someone was mentioning that. I can't remember who it was, but.
And I don't know if it's the kind of thing where they're almost like doing what we would do to fish or to wildlife, where you kind of tag them and then tag and release, that kind of a thing, and they're just kind of keeping track of you, or even genetic manipulation to see how the line is going along. There's all kinds of different things they could be doing, but it'd be really interesting if your family is kind of riding along on an interstellar spaceship.
I wouldn't.
And this dude's like, and then she's saying that she saw your dad, and your dad's like, you said your dad passed away 7 years before,
right?
2012.
In 2012.
That one's scary, dude. Like,
unbelievable.
And all over. And then the other thing is, like, people have been to my house, and I tell them these stories about these shadow people, and I would always see them growing up, and they look like Venom. I always compare it to Venom, the way Venom would move, like in the movies.
Yeah. That kind of like silky, slippery kind of. Yeah,
exactly. And I remember, like, my friends would go over at night to pick me up, and they would swear to God, like, yeah, I'm never coming back here at night again because I saw one of those things. I don't want to know what it was. And some of these guys were like rough guys, like the people that I would hang out with, and they were scared to death to go to my house at night.
Wow. It's like they could kind of feel an energy or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to your house, a couple of times? 3 times?
Yeah.
I experienced anything.
Yeah, but you're Oliver. You never experienced anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that's certain people are almost a conduit for certain things, and you could be one of these. I guess in a way, someone who's lucky, and you don't get to experience and feel these certain things in certain places, or getting like energies off of certain people. I'm someone that like I can sense when there's a real weird person, like in the next aisle at the grocery store.
Oh wow!
And I'm just like, and then you go in the next aisle and you see like this person who looks crazy and might like stab you if you cross them the wrong way, or you pick the box of Cheerios that they wanted, that kind of a thing. And I'm like, stay the hell away. You just feel the pulse of energy coming off of some people, and same thing with certain places as well. But if you can't feel that kind of a thing, oh man, I envy you.
I mean, when our mom passed away, like a long time ago, we had to like clean out her room and the house and all that. And once we started moving things, my brother and sister would feel presence and see things in the corner of their eyes. And I was like, "What is it? What did you guys see? What did you hear?" And I was just like the guy that, you guys are nuts because I didn't see anything.
You're too grounded, man.
Maybe, I don't know, but I mean, I respect that stuff and I don't play with it. But I mean, if I see something, yeah, I would probably get scared. But yeah, we would move things, furniture, old clothing, and yeah, they would
Wow.
see like shadow people like running across the hallway and on the corner of their eye they would spot it. But yeah, I was like, really, you just saw something?
Holy smokes.
I didn't see anything.
Oliver, you mind if I ask you when's your birthday? What's your sign?
December 8th is my birthday.
Oh, okay.
So you're Sagittarius?
So Sagittarius. Yeah, fire and earth signs I find aren't really as intuitive to a lot of those kinds of energies and things like that. Ray, what are you?
I'm on the cusp, actually. I'm Aries Pisces.
Ooh, cusper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cuspers are tough. Man, you guys are almost like Blade. Like you guys are like walking both worlds.
Yeah, it's intense. Like my son is Pisces, like full Pisces, and he's very emotional. He's more like an empath, I guess you could say. But I don't know. There's part of me that's like, whatever, you know. And then stuff happens, and I'm like, oh fuck, you know. I guess I gotta believe it now. Wow. It's strange.
Yeah, because I'm a Cancer. July 4th is my birthday, and but my and water signs are pretty, I guess, empathic because they're a more emotional sign. But I find air signs are by far the most in terms of being able to pick up a lot of energies and things like that, and way more attuned to it.
Gemini's a water or air?
Gemini's air. Yeah.
Yeah, that's her right there. I'm looking at her right now. Yeah. She's like
my
totally
wife, same thing. My wife's
an
practically
empath,
like totally same thing here today. With we had an experience with when we went somewhere, and it was interesting. But we've had multiple experiences because she's completely feels energies and all kinds of stuff all the time, and has visions of things. We live kind of maybe I'd say 2 or 3 blocks away from a funeral home. She'll know when certain people have passed, and we'll go to look up the story, and she'll find out. That? Yeah, it's insane.
She does the same thing. She's like in and out right now, so she's not really paying attention. So that's good. But she's like tells me like someone's gonna die, and sure enough, like what the hell, man? You know, someone passes or something. Like there's death around. Like what the hell? So yeah,
Jaded One, Gemini. There you go.
She's a chip. There you go.
But it's interesting. So we'll shift gears. We got a couple more minutes. We'll shift gears to tulpas. Now, for those that don't know about tulpas, guys, what are tulpas?
Tulpas are manifestations of thought. So if you believe in something enough, it will manifest itself into reality and become flesh and blood. And I think the best tulpa around is Santa Claus. Like that's the definition of tulpa is Santa Claus right there. Because no one thinks he's real, but everybody believes in him at some point in time, you know. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's spot on. That's perfect. Would you ever consider bringing Santa into your stories?
I don't know. It'd be probably a version of Santa that's more like the one in Rise of the Guardians. That Santa I still watch kids shows. That Santa was awesome. I think something like that.
Get him fighting Krampus.
Oh, imagine! Oh, we got to do that one. Krampus, man, that's another. What would Krampus be considered, Peter? Like a tulpa or a cryptid?
I think he would be a tulpa, because he is a story, you know, a thing brought to life essentially from story and legend, and I don't think anyone has necessarily had like cryptid type experiences like Krampus sightings, you know, or anything like that. I don't think that's necessarily. If they have, I think maybe they're seeing him manifested, or they're seeing the Goat Man or something.
Oh, there you go.
You know, but yeah, I think he'd be closer to a tulpa.
Yeah, I mean, when we were writing the Cryptonotes, or when I was writing the Cryptonotes, I need to have the big bad, right? And monsters are already the big bads in most stories. So what would be bigger and badder than a monster? And I was thinking, well, there's all these new monsters that have appeared, and because of cyberspace, you know, things that we believe in, you know, like the Slender Man. I don't want to call him that, but that was like the main one that I thought of. Like, this guy doesn't play by the rules. He's outside the boundaries of what we consider, you know, darkness and monsters. So let's have him be the big bad. But we started, doing a research, and we came up with El Ñango, which is our version of the Slender Man. I always thought the Slender Man was kind of boring as far as his backstory was concerned. So we wanted to make him a little bit more, like, pump him up a little bit, and that's when we came up with El Ñango. Or rather, El Ñango came up with us because we found out that this thing existed in some way, shape, or form. Thanks to Oliver, actually.
How crazy is it when you come up with characters? And that happened to me several times with the King Cryptid series. That I'm coming up with a character, and then I find out that it essentially, in some way, shape, or form, exists. Whether the backstory for it exists, or the character itself, in a way, exists. It's very strange when you get these things kind of speaking to you, and then you're kind of the conduit to tell people about them, essentially.
It's the aliens, right, Ray?
No, I blame the collective unconsciousness. That's what I blame.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, if anything true, with Tulpas, it kind of is like this thing that, without talking about it, is talking about it, that mass consciousness of the power of people all together thinking about something at the same time, really believing in it, and giving some kind of strength and some kind of validity to the concept, whatever it may be, whether it's a thought, whether it's a character, or whether it's just like a belief in something occurring. It's strange. You get that kind of inception level of all of us being together and on the same wavelength, and because we're all energy and emitting energy, and then that's everything getting affected by that energy. And so it's really strange when some people aren't just kind of sending out signals, but you're receiving signals too. So you're like a two-way antenna, and it's interesting how that comes up, because Tulpas is basically that, without kind of saying it's that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that we were trying to, like, figure out, like, man, have we actually given birth to things because of the stuff that we've been doing, or the research that we've been doing? And it kind of creeps you out after a while, because I subscribe a lot to the Castañeda, like the Carlos Castañeda teachings and stuff like that. And like, there's power behind words, and if there's power behind intent, and our intentions were to create these things, then we have created them some way. And what are the ramifications of that? Are we going to be able to accept the responsibility of what we've done, or are we going to just let it go and do its own thing? And that completely fits into the whole Tulpa motif, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's if anything, it's the essence of storytelling. So you've created this story, and whether it's a physical manifestation or just some kind of an emotional impact that occurs for someone, that is real. So I think that's why we all still, when we see something that matters to us, that's fictional, that's a story, a character, whatever it may be, and we see it being wronged or whatever, and it affects you. It emotionally hits you, because this is like a near and dear friend who is now being messed with. So the impact that thing has had on your life positively, when you see it being wronged, it's the same feeling that you have when it's someone that's a near and dear person that you love and care about being wronged. And so when we see all this stuff nowadays with, like, heroes getting kind of put through the meat grinder, these stories that mean something to you, provide inspiration and even aspiration at times to achieve or to overcome, and they're being messed with, that's the real thing that has occurred to you from this fictional character. So even if it never physically manifests, it still in some way, shape, or form does manifest. It affects you and it affects millions of others. So that's a very real impact.
It's powerful and scary at the same time, because with that type of energy, that type of movement, like, what we can do so much, but at the same time we can use it for both good or bad. And once you start getting into the minutia of everything, you start kind of like going crazy a little bit. I think that's where I'm at right now. So.
Yeah, you gotta find a way to turn it off, because same thing with me when I'm creating King Cryptid stories. I say it all the time, but I sound nuts, and I know I sound nuts, but stories will just come to me, full-blown stories. The whole thing just comes to me. It's not about editing it. It's just about getting it down and then making sure it works within the realm of the other stories being told. But it's not about, sitting there like, oh, man, I got to come up with this. How do I come up with that?
Yeah.
How do we create this character? How do you create what occurs here? It's literally as if a story is being told to you all in one shot, a movie being beamed into your mind. And that's the part that kind of feels sort of strange sometimes.
It's a beautiful gift. And it's just something that we have to, like you said, you have to put it down on paper. You got to some way, shape, or form, like make sure that it's recorded so that you don't lose it down the road. And that happens to me a lot as well when I'm coming up with these stories, and the characters start writing themselves. They start coming to life, the whole essence once again. And it's just something that we have to really, I guess, care for in a way.
Yeah. Let's see. Jaded One says, so would voodoo dolls be a tulpas kind of thing? Well, the effect it has, at least.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. Wouldn't it?
Like
how would you,
like a belief manifesting?
The belief that I guess the belief or the power that you have over one would manifest itself in the voodoo doll, and you'd be able to manipulate somebody.
Yeah. That seems like it. Like, not the voodoo doll itself, obviously, that would not be a tulpa. That's a physical,
the intent,
tangible
I
thing.
guess.
But the intent that you put, that you direct that energy towards that doll, which is supposed to be then directed.
But it has to be linked to it by a physical thing, no?
Yeah.
Hair, clothing, something like that.
Yeah. I would get into the voodoo doll story, or rather, whatever the hell that was that happened to my dad. But
goodness, you have a voodoo doll story as well. This is why the aliens are coming down to your house.
I think so.
They're like, this is the place to be.
Like I said, my mother went into some crap. I don't know what the hell she was doing or thinking, but yeah, there's some stuff, Pete, that happened. We should have an whole other show on that.
Holy smokes. Yeah, because we're past the hour at this point, so we have to wrap up. But yeah, we could have a whole other show. Yeah, we'll have to have a part 2 where we talk about every other thing that has led to your house being a hotspot for UFO manifestation. Most people get like maybe demonic manifestations and infestations occurring within their home, but you're getting like extraterrestrials that are being basically led to this energy. I mean, your house might even be on some kind of a ley line, some kind of electromagnetic hotspot.
That's what a lot of people say.
Causing all of that.
It's interesting. Really quickly before we go, I just want to add this. Like, no one has lived at my house or my parents' house. I'm calling my house, but it's not mine, right? For like the past, I guess, 5 years. Like, no one's been there since 2019. Has it been 5 years? I don't know. 3-4 years.
It feels like 20.
Yeah, it feels like a long time. Before that, when I would go visit my mom when she was still living there, I remember all the crap that my parents put each other through, and the whole feeling of the house always seemed oppressive. But ever since like my dad had passed away and my mom had started having her issues with dementia and stuff, whenever I would go into the house, it felt sad, but not sad in a way where like something horrible had happened here, but more like no one really ever lived here. Not lived as in, habitated, but lived as in actually experienced joy. That's how the house felt. And it was strange to feel that. And I haven't been in the house since then, so I don't know what it feels like now.
Wow.
But immediately, as soon as walking into the house, you could feel that desolation. That's the perfect word, the desolation. So yeah, it's something that I need to look into, man, because now that we're bringing it up again, it's
yeah. Did you ever have really vivid dreams when you lived there as a kid, especially?
I actually, once again, getting into craziness, I actually had an ODB, is it called? Out of body experience? OBE?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had an OBE there once, and it was nuts, man. Like, had never experienced that before. But that was during the time when I was dabbling in the whole spiritualism and the Castañeda stuff. So, like I said, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Is it the time when you woke up like right in the ceiling?
Yeah, I woke up and I was like, my face was touching the ceiling.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I felt like falling back onto the bed. It was crazy.
That's crazy. Sounds almost like astral planing and astral projection in a way. So
yes, exactly.
When I was a kid, we lived in a different house than where we moved when I was a teenager. But I only had these kinds of experiences when I was a kid, when we lived at that certain house. It was always two things, and I could still picture it. One of them was always this constant dream. I was in the backyard, and there was this woman dressed in all white with like a white, like big brim hat and very red lipstick, and she was very pale. And she would always be talking to me, but I couldn't hear her. It'd almost be like she's mouthing words, but it's silence. And then, out of nowhere, she'd shoot me. She'd just shoot me, and it looked kind of like a Luger, like almost like an old, like 1920s to 40s kind of pistol. And I would have that. I must have had that dream like 20, 30 times when I was a kid, and I would dread it eventually, having feelings of dread in the dream of anticipating getting shot. And no matter what I did, no matter where I tried to run away, no matter what I tried to do, she'd always be there, and eventually she would just shoot me. And then there was another dream I had multiple times where I would literally fly in my neighborhood. And it was really weird because at the time you're thinking, oh, you're a kid, you have these dreams, whatever. Later on, though, when there's Google Maps, I look back at my old neighborhood and I'm seeing things in people's backyards that I saw in the dream that I never would have saw ever. I saw that people had pools. I saw that certain types of tree. I saw a certain kind of house, a certain kind of driveway, and stuff that, like, when I was a kid, I'm not going to go in people's backyards. But later on, when I was like in my early 20s, I'm looking up on Google and I'm remembering these dreams I used to have when I used to fly through the neighborhood. And I'm seeing these things in Google Maps, people having these things that there's no way I could have known when I was a kid having those dreams. So it's really weird stuff like that. But that only happened at that house where we used to live. So I don't know if that house as well was on something. But yeah, it's very strange.
That sounds like it to me, because those type of vivid dreams are the type that I would have at that house. And I've lived in other places and I've never had the same type of dream. It's crazy. So yeah, it sounds like it to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it could have been, right? Could have been. Either way, though, gas leak, supernatural, whatever it was, something was occurring that was giving me this out-of-body experience where I was flying through my neighborhood. That one in particular was crazy to me, and that I would be seeing people's backyards and things like that, and just dismissing them when I woke up and just thought, oh, that was so cool, I could fly in my dream, and I'd have full-on, Peter Pan levels of control over flight. And everybody's had dreams of flying and things like that, but it was really freaky to me to see that I was flying in my neighborhood and seeing certain people's backyards and certain people's houses, and eventually seeing that stuff was actually there.
Was there a string attached to you, Peter, in these dreams?
No,
because that's the thing where you astroplane, and there's a string.
I remember the umbilical
tied to your body. So apparently, if it's cut, severed, you're like you
lost.
You're lost, or somebody might possess your body.
Yeah. No, I would just
astroplaning.
I would just go, and I guess I'm lucky enough that I would eventually come back.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think the validation part, the stuff that you actually were able to say, like, wait, that's validated because I'm seeing it on this map. That's the scary part, man. Because
that blew my mind. Yeah,
that right there to me, I'd be like, holy shit, what happened? What did I experience? What did I do? And how do I do it again? I want to do it again.
Yeah. I still can't, for the life of me, figure out how to do that again. And obviously, when you're a kid, you're far more open to that kind of stuff. So
they say that when you're born, that you have all the knowledge that has ever existed in the universe ever, but you don't remember. So as you grow,
everything's in the DNA. That's why they obsess over it. They want to unlock all those secrets.
As you grow up, you start remembering everything, but you don't remember everything. So there you go.
Yeah, you get all that vestigial memory trapped inside the DNA, and they're like, 98% of it is just junk DNA. That's bullshit. There's no junk anything. They either don't know what it is yet, or they know what it is, and they don't want the unlocked power of the human potential to actually acknowledge that this is what it is. But it's interesting, because if you think about it, that's literally the thing that goes all the way back to from whatever is whatever that has the information in there. We all have that. That's insane. But it's 100% true.
Oh man, we're gonna get into some existentialism and stuff like that, man. It's gonna get crazy.
Yeah, well, we'll save that for parts 2 and 3.
Oh yeah, that sounds good to me.
So you guys doing a paranormal podcast now? Awesome.
We should. Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm leaning a bit, especially with King Cryptid. I'm really leaning into everything. I'm like, I want to talk about all the things I love that interest me. So other than comic books and things like that, I really want to get into the whole fact of everything I've ever loved, which is paranormal stuff, supernatural, the unknown, all this kind of other stuff that we've been talking about and discussing. I really want to talk about that as well. It's not, King Cryptid is not something that's literally just me going, let me just tell a funny monster story,
Yeah.
and that'll be cool. This is stuff that's mattered to me my whole life and has shaped me into the
Isn't
insane
it
person
kind of
I am today.
therapeutic?
It's it's cathartic, Yeah.
There you go, cathartic. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And it is to me as well. Like all the stuff that I've experienced, I got to get it out somewhere, shape or form. But I want to make it entertaining, not just like very somber. Like, man, that's jacked up, bro. I'm sorry you went through that, but I want to entertain as well. So
exactly, 100%. That's exactly how I feel. But anyway, we'll wrap it up. Nobody was brave enough, I guess, to step up to bat today. It's unfortunate. We had the link right there. It's Oliver. I'm telling you, he's there the whole time with the sunglasses on. Like, yeah,
take the shades off.
Come on, say some dumb crap to me. That's what he's saying.
Buy my books. Come on.
Buy my books. I don't believe in any of this. Buy my books.
So speaking of which, a Dead Stop Tour of Terror right now is in demand on Indiegogo. These guys have this book out right now. This is on the campaign. Cryptidnals campaign has been closed, right? That's not in demand, correct?
No, but we are going to do a second chance pretty soon on Indiegogo, and we're planning on the Kickstarter. I know you're having trouble with Kickstarter, but
no, they do whatever you want to do. I don't judge someone else's choices.
No,
man, I saw that stuff that you were going through, though.
Yeah. I just hope. I mean, I guess it's a little harder to create a duplicate campaign. I mean, hopefully, goodness, if there's one running on Kickstarter and then there's a duplicate running on Kickstarter by a scammer, hopefully they at least catch that one. So I hope nothing like that happens to you or anybody else. But yeah, that was. I just more don't want someone falling victim to that kind of a thing. So
that must be terrible. But yeah, we're planning on a Kickstarter and second chance, hopefully by September. I mean, yeah, that's where we
just September, right? No date, right?
Yeah, just September. Yeah, we gotta film a new trailer for Kickstarter because I know they have a certain look for that platform. So we're gonna do that tomorrow, right, Ray? You're gonna be available tomorrow?
I will be available tomorrow.
Yeah, so
I don't work tomorrow, so you can come over. We'll have menudo.
Oh shit, we'll be there early then. That's pretty much it, Peter. We have Dead Stop and Cryptids Second Chance coming soon, and we're also working on other projects with other creators. And yeah, it's busy over here, man.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. Do you guys have a website where they can go and pick up anything that they may have missed before, or is everything crowdfunded right now?
Right now it's crowdfunded. We are working on a website too, but yeah, once we get more books in, we're gonna start selling it on a website. So we already have the domains already paid for. So
oh, great.
Yeah. We need to do a Shopify or something like that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll have you guys back soon. We'll continue the conversation and some more. Man, oh man.
Thank you so much, Peter. Appreciate it very much, man. I had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for joining me today. Oliver, Ray, thank you guys so much. Best of luck with your comics. Cryptidnals was great. Best of luck with Dead Stop Tour of Terror. If you guys haven't had a chance to check it out yet, please do so. It is on Indiegogo right now. The link is in the description, and now it's also in the chat. And right there, too, I see Oliver saying the Cryptidals mailing list. Go sign up for that, too. All right. Thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful night, everybody.
Thank you, man.
See you. Good night.
No nightmares out there. Everybody have sweet, pleasant dreams. Keep in mind, for those that are frightened of certain things of the supernatural, they're not out to hurt you necessarily, right? They're kind of out there just to be like, hey, we exist, we're here, and if anything, I view that as kind of something to look at and go, look at how fascinating the universe is and the world that we live in, and how little we truly know about it, and how much bullshit is out there in the world distracting us from a lot of this amazing stuff that we should actually be spending more time on and concentrating on. But yeah, especially extraterrestrials and stuff. No one's getting abducted tonight. You guys are fine. Everyone take it easy. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night, guys.
Good night.